Today we are going to look at the passage, The Tiger of the Snows, and we're going to look at the different elements of the passage and find out which text structures are in this passage. When we look for text structures, we're going to look for clue words and words that give us an idea about what type of hidden structure this is. We're going to start with our unravel. So the first part of unravel is going to be you underline the title. So I'm going to underline Tigers of the Snows, an autobiography of Tenzing of Everest. When I see that title, I think about tigers as in animals, but looking at the story, I see people. So I'm thinking, since tigers are really strong and courageous, that this is probably about people who are also strong and courageous. The next part of unravel is looking at our run through and number. So I see 1, 2, 3, next page, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs in this passage. So we will have 6 paragraphs to read. The next part of unravel is, are the important words circled? So in this passage, we have a few text features that are new. Up here, we have a description. Here, we have an illustration and a caption. On the next page, there is another illustration with a caption, an illustration, a caption. And on the third page, there's a map and a caption describing the map. So that's pretty cool. We have a map this time. The next part of unravel is, are you reading the questions? Are you reading the questions? It's really important, so let's go ahead and look at it. Question number 1, part A. How is the first paragraph different from the ones that come after it? So I look at the word first paragraph, that tells me where, and the word different I'm going to circle because that means how they are not alike. Part B. Underline a detail in paragraph 1 that best supports the answer to part A. So I went ahead and I underlined detail. I underlined paragraph 1 because that's where we will find the information. And I circled the word support because support means to back it up. So we're going to find one thing that backs up why the paragraph is different from the others. Number 2. What does the word plains mean as used in paragraph 2? So we are looking for the word plains. Next is question number 3. On the next page it says, how does the author mainly organize the details of the Tigers of Snow? There's the word mainly organize, so I think that this is going to be something where we have to look at the majority and see which one in the majority is it going to be. Part B says, what 2 details from the text support the answer to part A? So I'm going to circle the word 2 details because that's the number of details we need to find. And I'm going to circle the word support because support means back it up. Question number 4. Put everything from the autobiography in order they happened by writing the numbers 1 to 4 on the lines before each sentence. So we are going to put numbers 1 through 4 on the lines and put them in order. Remember, when we're talking about order, we're talking about sequence and chronological effects. Okay, the next part is V, venture through the passage. I'm going to start at the very top where it has the excerpt of details. On May 29th, 1953, Tenzing Norgay, along with Sir Edmund Hillary, was one of the first 2 people to reach the summit of Mount Everest, the highest mountain on Earth. The following passage is taken from his autobiography. From Tigers of the Snow, an autobiography of Tenzing of Everest, by Tenzing Norgay. Paragraph 1. On top of the rock we rested again. Certainly, after the climb up the gap, we were both a bit breathless. But after some slow pulls at the oxygen, I am feeling fine. I look up. The top is very close now, and my heart thumps with excitement and joy. Then we are on our way again, climbing again. The picture shows a man here, and the caption says, Tenzing Norgay, the famous Sherpa mountaineer. Paragraph 2. Then the rocks, too, are beneath us. We are back among the snowy humps. They are curving off to the right, and each time we pass one, I wonder, is the next the last one? Is the next the last? Finally, we reach a place where we can see past the humps. Beyond them is a great open sky and brown plains. We are looking down the far side of the mountain upon Tibet. Ahead of us now is only one more hump, the last hump. It is not a pinnacle. The way to it is easy snow slope, wide enough for 2 men to go side by side. About 30 feet away, we stop for a minute and look up. Then we go on. A little bit below the summit, Hilary and I stopped. We looked up. Then we went on. The rope that joined us was 30 feet long, but I held most of it in loops in my hand, so that there's only about 6 feet between us. I look at the photo and I see 2 people, and it says Tenzing Norgay and Edward Hillary pose after their climb. In the next photo, I see 2 men. They're climbing. It looks like they're climbing a pretty dangerous and steep hill. So that's something for us to think about. The caption here says the pair climb beyond a deep on Mount Everest. Next page, paragraph 4. We stepped up. We were there. The dream had come true. What we did first was what all climbers do when they reach the top of their mountain. We shook hands, but this was not enough for Everest. I waved my arms in the air and then threw them around Hilary, and we thumped each other on the back until even with oxygen we were almost breathless. Then we looked around. It was 11:30 in the morning. The sun was shining, and the sky was the deepest blue I have ever seen. Only a gentle breeze was blowing, coming from the direction of Tibet, and the plume of snow that always blows from Everest summit was very small. Paragraph 6. It was such a sight as I had ever seen before and would never see again. Wild, wonderful, and terrible. But terror was not what I felt. I loved the mountain too well for that. I loved Everest too well. And at the great moment for which I had waved all my life, my mountain did not seem to me a lifeless thing of rock and ice, but a warm, friendly, loving. She was a mother hen, and the other mountains were chicks. Under her wings I too felt had only to spread my own wings to cover and shelter from the broad that I loved. I'm going to now look at the map next to our paragraphs. It has Mount Everest, China, and India. And the caption of this map says, Mount Everest straddles the border between Nepal and China. I also see this text feature below here, and this text feature has some very interesting aspects. It's showing us the rigid mountains and giving us a description of what the author was talking about. I would now like you to take some time to go back in paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 with your group for 2 minutes. Please identify any clue words that tell us what this structure is. Again, you have 2 minutes with your group. You need to identify clue words. You have about 30 more seconds to talk with your group. All right, so looking at our text, the clue words that we found here are going to be the ones that are in paragraphs 1, 2, and 3. Clue words I see here in paragraph 2 is the word then. There's also the word finally. There are more clue words here. If we go on to paragraphs 4, 5, and 6, you see the word first. And you also see some other words that indicate time is passing, like 11:30 in the morning. That's telling us about time. Reading this story, I know that this text structure is going to be chronological order. The reader is telling us the steps they took in climbing the mountain and how they felt at the end of the mountain. When we look at paragraph 1, though, paragraph 1 is not talking about steps on what they did to climb the mountain, but it's showing us something different. I'm going to read paragraph 1 again. On the top of the rock cliff, we rested again. Certainly, after climbing up the gap, we both a bit breathless, but after some slow pulls of oxygen, I am feeling fine. So that is showing us here. It says, certainly after the climb, we both are a bit breathless. This is really showing us how the author is feeling during this time and some things that he's struggling with going through the climb. Moving on to our questions now, please take out your packet and read over these questions 1 and 2 with me. How is the first paragraph different from the ones that come after it? What you're going to do now is read through the questions on your own and answer the questions. You may take about 10 minutes to answer your questions, and we will discuss them as a whole group. So what you will do now is read over your questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, and answer your questions in your packet. Finally, when you come to our class today, we will be discussing our answers.